time I hear you whisper to me that you never would leave me be. I can feel my body echoing for you now.
Do you know what you do to me? It's like a fantasy, I wanna never leave. But isn't it a little funny that you're the one controlling me?
Hey, welcome back to, as my chair makes it sound like I'm farting. Great! Okay, it's a new day! In the game, it's not for me. It's kind of sad. Anywho's. Oh. This one. This one, right. Eventually the morning arrived and the sun screamed at me to get up. Surprisingly, I woke up before my alarm once again, which was nice. Wait, I'm supposed to use the keyboard, not my mouse. There we go. I stretched out and quickly got dressed, getting ready for school. She expects me to say goodbye to the boys. I will say good morning and will see them when I come back. No way I'm going to say goodbye. Hello! How are you all? I scooped up my bag and headed downstairs to the dining room, seeing the boys already eating the delicious selection of food. The smell made my stomach growl wildly. At the sight of food drew me to walk further into the room.
Good morning, miss. Did you sleep well?
Give or take. Before I could lie, having the incident in the back of my mind, Damien oh no, I forgot. Furrowed his eyebrows and stopped eating.
She's here.
Stop doing that! Damn it, Damien! The boys looked at Damien in confusion while I cursed at his ability silently in my mouth.
Damien, what's up with you? Of course she's here. She kinda owns the house.
Yeah, Damien! Damien looked at me and wanted to explain for him. However, the threats that Diana gave me last night warned me to keep my mouth shut. Saves every 2 seconds. I'm gonna save here. Yeah. Just avoid it. I shook my head at Damien, not wanting to talk about it. Damien sighed and looked to James. James tilted his head and furrowed his brows at Damien before looking at me.
Does anyone else live in this house?
No. Nope, just us.
And who is Diana?
Can you keep your mouth shut? What? I thought you were the quiet one. Guess not. My heart stopped. Damien was still in my mind. I couldn't help but glare at him. But he continued to press hard. Tell the truth gaze at me. I sighed. Damien was going to press the issue. I had no choice but to speak. A girl named Diana came by last night.
Diana? Is she important?
You tell me.
Did she try to hurt you?
She's a succubus. The single word made the boys stop and stare at me. I looked to each boy unsure of what was going through their minds. Should I avoid it?
So, she's come to try and bring us back.
She must really be desperate.
Well, what should we do now?
Nothing. She'll give up eventually.
Will she?
I don't know. The boys continued to look at me as if I knew the answer to the question. Damn it! Damn it, Damien! She said that as if I told you. She said that if I told you, she'd make my life a living hell. She can't possibly do that, right? She's not a devil.
No, she isn't. However, she is a very powerful demon.
She's a master of mind manipulation and has been trained in illusion. Unlike other demons who use strength to get power, she uses her charisma.
Ah, of course.
She has the power to make armies bow to her and obey her every whim. That's why she's so obsessed with us.
I don't understand what that has to do with the other thing. What do you mean?
Well, she sort of has family ties to us. She was promised to marry one of us in exchange for more power.
And which one?
She's just some whacked up hussy who doesn't know how to close her legs. She's not a real threat.
I love you, Sam. I love you, Sam.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I feel
gosh.
insulted.
The boys and I looked around the room, wondering where the voice came from. I felt cold sweat run down the back of my neck in fear, remembering the kind of power she had. Everybody move over! Diana's here! At last we saw Diana by the entrance of the kitchen, juggling a single red apple in her hand as she leaned against the archway. The boys quickly surrounded me, glaring at the intruder.
So, you took up a human name as well.
Beautiful name, isn't it? Well, for a human name, anyway.
What the hell do you want?
To bring you back, of course. However, you weren't supposed to know that I was coming. I completely forgot about that little mind-reading ability. My mistake.
Diana pushed off from the archway and walked towards us, making the boy step closer to me. In a protective circle, Diana laughed.
My. What has the world come to? A group of demons protecting a human girl? I'll tell you right now, she's not that pretty.
Ouch.
And from what I can tell, she's still a virgin.
I almost wasn't! My face grew red in complete anger and embarrassment. How dare she! Oh, hell no! No, just don't say anything. Diana chuckled and smirked at me, knowing that I wanted to hit her. I wanted to hit her butt! But I had to control myself.
Such control you have, human. You know your place very well.
I didn't control the growl that escaped my throat, however.
Well, will you all change your minds? I assure you, it's for the greater good.
I expected the boys to say no. When I heard what I heard was complete silence. None of the boys replied to Diana, which made me both nervous and fearful as to why. Diana leaned her head back a bit, surprised for a different reason.
No. Well, I see.
Was silence truly them saying no to her? I looked around at the boys and saw the disobedience in their eyes giving me an answer. I felt my heart flutter, especially when my eyes landed on James. He kept close to me, glaring daggers into Diana. I could feel he was completely adamant in his choice to stay. I didn't know what, but I was incredibly happy to know he wanted to stay. Diana sighed and pressed her finger to her temple, rubbing it gently.
Either all of you are playing a very convincing hard-to-get game, or you all must be out of your minds.
No, they look pretty... Okay, I'm sorry, but Matthew just looks really confused. Matthew doesn't get angry, he gets confused. Diana then looked to me, locking her gaze with mine as if to read me. I could tell she wanted me to do something, but the boys would stop her. So the stare was her only available option. After a small moment of silence, Diana licked her lips before breaking the gaze battle and smiling to both boys around me.
Very well.
All the boys.
I guess I'll take my leave now.
What? Her leave? Was she serious? The boys around me straightened up and grew confused looks on their face. Matthew had a confused look on his face. Now he just looks normal. Looks on their faces as Diana stepped back away from us with a small bow, flaunting her cleavage. Yeah, get out! Without another word, a deep purple pentagram appeared under her feet, and Diana's body slowly sank into the floor. Again! That's really creepy. As her head vanished into the floor, the pentagram vanished. Everybody spread out. Y'all too close to each other. No, when she came, everybody just went right to Damien, like, Damien, protect us! At once, the boys relaxed and slowly began to return to their spots at the table, each in deep thought.
She'll be back, but she won't kill us. She needs us alive.
Whatever. We'll just keep saying no. She can't force us to come back.
Yes, Matthew has the solution for everything. Solution? Done.
She can't do anything but annoy us. Eventually, she'll give up.
That's the hope, anyway.
I don't think it's that easy. Hopefully. James walked over to me and gently caressed my... Oh! that was supposed to be an aw. Like, aw, it's sweet, but it came out so different. Looking at me with a comfort smile.
There's no need to worry. I promise she won't hurt you.
I really gotta shut up. Thanks, bro. I noted a feeling that he was telling the truth. At least hopefully in a comforting thought. James kissed my forehead, however, making me blush and forget what I was thinking about. None of the boys are going to question what's going on here. The sound of clefted chuckles and playful snickers whispered through the air, making me blush even more, but the sudden growl that erupted from the man above me made the laughter stop. I didn't see James' face, but I could tell that he was glaring at his brothers with his hips on my head. Hips! Lips! Jeez! He and I pulled away from each other just as the sound of Naomi's car appeared. I quickly ate my food, waved at the boys, and left confident that nothing was going to happen. Never ever say that nothing will happen before this day is over. I avoided talking about the ride back home yesterday, saying that the ride was a one-time thing. I'll be riding with you guys from now on and to and from school. The girls seemed very happy. We entered the school, quickly gathered our things from our lockers, and headed to class. There were no events to our surprise. History wasn't exactly fun, but our teacher was great. At least he would have been great if he was in class that day. Naomi and Suzu took their seats around me. Susan in front of me, Naomi beside me. Before the class bell rang, the class was greeted by the dean.
Students, you'll be having a substitute for class today.
Oh no.
Everyone meet
Miss Diana.
Oh. Saw that one coming from a mile away. You're no teacher, you're a slime. How did you win? Oh, wait. My heart stopped. At the door with the dean was Diana, looking over the students and smirking. Her eyes landed on me. She strutted into the teacher's desk, ignoring or welcoming the whispers from the other students before sitting on the wooden chair and crossing her legs.
Thank you, Dean. You can go now.
With a wave of Diana's hand, the dean left the classroom, closed the door, and left the area. Diana smiled at us, making my stomach turn. What was she going to do?
So, history. History, history, history. Such a silly thing, isn't it? I mean, what do we care about the past? We're in the present.
The rest of the class, including Naomi and Suzu, hesitantly nodded in agreement, unsure about this new teacher, but willingly listened to more of what she had to say.
The present is so full of wonderful things. While the labors of the past are the reason we have many things, it is our chance and privilege to utilize what has been given to us.
Her charm was almost infectious. The class was practically starting to eat out of her hand. I looked around to see classmates grinning and agreeing with Diana. I pressed my lips against as I listened further. I had no choice.
What's even funnier about human beings is that some of the bits of history we hear is either made up or completely biased to one side. It's like a story you read as a child. You hear of the princess and the prince, and they live happily ever after. But what about the family she left behind? What of her friends?
The students listened and agreed intently to her words. I could tell, however, that these words were all targeted at me.
The original story of the Little Mermaid, a perfect example of biased opinion. Here we have a girl who thinks she can be with this prince, but this prince has to marry a princess. What would happen if the mermaid had her way? What makes the mermaid so important that the princess has to suffer the consequences?
Keep my mouth shut. There was no way I was going to let her get to me. Despite her being the teacher, I was going to ignore her. There was no telling what she could do if I talked back. Diana looked to me, expecting me to speak, but I merely stared at her. A smirk graced her face. A glare graced mine. I didn't need to fight to win.
It's still something to think about, however, as we think of this story. It's so easy to believe that the mermaid was the heroine. But what of the poor princess? Why should the princess suffer the antics of a mermaid? The princess didn't do anything wrong to her.
More nonsense. I knew this was all some message to me to make me pity her. My anger didn't allow any leeway to feel pity for her. How long was she planning to drag this out? She wasn't a real teacher. Diana continued to rave about the injustice of the princess had to suffer through while the mermaid was in the prince's sight. Ha! To Diana it was injustice. To me it was a fairy tale. The boy chose me. He chose me. She wasn't going to convince them otherwise, and I wasn't going to let her. This is going to turn into an all-out catfight. Diana stretched her arms up, making an obvious sexual noise. That made some of the boys in the class shift in their seats. I rolled my eyes.
Well, that's enough about fairy tales. After all, the Little Mermaid was fated to lose her prince in the original story anyway. It was for the better, though. The kingdoms, I'm sure, flourished, and the prince and princess lived happily ever after.
Not a word. I could tell she was trying to pull me to speak more and more. I knew she was wrong, but I wasn't intimidated enough to fall for her words and speak up. I decided to just watch and observe for the remainder of class. Her class had become a lecture. No one spoke as she spouted nonsense. Diana then stopped talking and looked to the clock on the wall, reading it quickly. The class had barely begun. She was looking at the time. Diana had leaned against the blackboard and smiled to us. I became worried.
You know what? School isn't important. Everyone, go ahead and head home. Take the week off.
The students then became to chat happily or in confusion of the situation. Many thought it was a dream to come true, others knew better. Before anyone could protest, however, Diana pressed her finger to her lips and counted down Fingers in the air. 3, 2, 1. The speakers of the classroom gently awoke, giving us an announcement we would have never believed.
Attention students. Due to an emergency faculty meeting, we will be closing school for the remainder of the day and this entire week. Please leave the school quickly and quietly and have a good rest of the week.
She used her powers on them. Damn it, I felt I needed to stop her, but how could I stop a demon in the middle of a public area? Diana smiled before gesturing to the door.
Have a nice week off. School will resume next week.
That's so stupid. Many of the students filed out, chatting to each other about their new impromptu plans. Susan was beyond happy, but Naomi was hesitant. Before we could pack up and leave, however, Diana stepped to us.
Excuse me, little miss. I'd like you to stay a little while. There's something we need to discuss.
As Diana looked to Suzu and Naomi, she snapped her fingers, making my friends tense up.
You two can head home. Don't worry about your friend until next week, okay? If you contact her, she won't reply, so don't bother. If she contacts you, ignore her, because she's just fine.
As if on command, Suzu and Naomi left the room. I tried to march after them, but Diana stepped in my path, warning me with her eyes that if I followed, there would be hell to pay. Get to hell. Well, she's not... whatever. That joke sucked! I had lost my two friends, or at least for a week. Diana and I were alone, just like she wanted. I slammed my hands on my desk in front of me and glared at Diana. What are you doing? What are you thinking?
What? Do I not make a good teacher? I figured you should have a little lesson, so I took matters into my own hands.
Whatever you're trying to do, it won't work.
You really think so, dear? And what makes you so sure about that?
What's making me so sure? Why was I so confident? Were the boys worth this? Yeah. My thoughts began to fill with doubt. All the uncertainties about this whole ordeal began to cloud my mind. If the boys were ever found out, they'd be hell to pay. I almost made the joke again! What was it worth? What about Diana? What would she do to me? Would she make my parents forget about me completely? Would she ruin my friends' lives out of spite? In my gut, I felt a stone of confidence try to fight back, but the heaviness of my thoughts began to dissolve that stone little by little. What was going on with me? I looked up to Diana once again to see her gaze boring into my eyes. She was using her powers on me. This time I was away from home, so I couldn't escape. Or could I? Did I want to? The voice stared at me and made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. No! 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 No. Diana lifted my hand under my chin and ran her thumb over my lips, licking her own. I could feel little shots of energy zipping from under my skin into my chin where she held me.
Now, let's have a little taste of that sweet, virginal sexual energy.
Okay. Wow, this game is going places. I watched as you leaned in, ready to kiss me and take my energy. Half of my body felt elation at the idea, and the other half completely rejected it. I didn't want to even touch me. James, but suddenly Diana stopped in her tracks.
James, who is...
Then it dawned on her.
Ah, one of the boys. Why don't you tell me which boy is James?
Found myself not in compliance. The oldest. Diana giggled in reply before letting go of my face and stepping back.
Really? The eldest son with you?
Nodded once again, but this time it was partly my own decision to reply. Diana let out a sound that mimicked a cat's purr before stepping away from me.
All right, then. Well, if it's the eldest son you're infatuated with, you should really rethink your romantic options.
Why? Diana chuckled before kissing my nose, where I felt a shot of energy zap out of my body, almost making me dizzy and recoil. Diana then turned to the desk and sat on the wood, crossing her legs.
You can go now. Remember, no class for the rest of the week.
How am I supposed to get home? My two friends left me here thanks to you.
Oh, were they your ride? My apologies. Let me help then.
Diana then lifted her hand and snapped her fingers. Suddenly, I felt the floor sink from underneath me, forcing me to look down. Purple pentagrams surrounded my feet, pulling me into the ground. Oh my gosh, no! Ugh, it became creepy. Before I could fight, however, I sank fully into the floor, fading in darkness, shutting my eyes. I opened them. I felt my silk sheets around me, soothing my anxiety from the darkness that had previously surrounded me. But why did Diana bring me home? Was it an illusion? Was it being tricked? Something was going on. I totally just skipped a line. I sat up in bed looking around me. I was indeed in my room. There was no mistake about that. Why? Diana's too strange. Was this a game? Was this part of her plan to get the boys back? I was lost and confused more than ever. Despite my logical thought, trying to piece the puzzle that is Diana together. The more I tried to solve for it, the less I understood about the situation I was in. I was interrupted, however, by my door suddenly opening, revealing the boys with Damien's hand on the doorknob.
Miss, what are you doing here?
You know, good question!
Aren't you supposed to be in school?
Skipping! I furrowed my eyebrows and stared at Damien, asking him to answer their question through my thoughts.
Diana sent her back here. She invaded her school and sent all the students back home.
What is that bitch up to? Seriously! Diana's playing around for no reason.
Maybe it's part of her plan.
I just realized Matthew's the youngest. That's adorable! Sorry. The boys continued to argue back and forth about Diana, feeling an almost jealous curiosity in me. Damien seemed to be too deep within the talking to notice my thoughts, for he didn't even stop talking alongside his brothers. Why was Diana after them? Why did she want to bring them back? What was so important about the boys that she would travel to the human world to get them? What was going on? I decided enough was enough and needed the answers. Hey! Hey! The boy stopped arguing, staring at me in surprise, held my hands and fists in my lap, mustering the courage to continue to speak despite my abrupt shout. Why is Diana here? Why does she want to bring you all back? What exactly did you all run from? Why did you run from it?
Miss, we...
Don't miss me! Please, I need to know what's going on. I won't be left in the dark about this. I want to know what I'm facing. The boys looked at each other hesitantly, unsure of what to reply. Finally, Sam pushed Damien towards the bed, making him buckle and land on his knees with his torso over the edge of the mattress.
Damien, do the thing.
What? I think what thing?
Sam, you're not suggesting.
Why not? She deserves to know everything. Especially if Diana is targeting her.
Sam's right.
I guess we have no choice then.
I was getting confused. What was Damien about to do? Damien stood before, climbing onto the bed with me, sitting across from me on his knees.
We're going to show you everything. You have to trust me, okay? The minute you stop trusting me, the vision will stop.
Vision?
Please, just trust me.
It's hard to trust you, Damien, considering you spout my thoughts out every 2 seconds. I looked at James unsure of what was going on, but I nodded. If this was the only way to learn, it was my chance to know. Damien gently placed his hands on each side of my head, gently pressing his thumbs into the skin above my eyebrows. I could only stare at Damien as his eyes began to glow gold and energy began to both pull out of me and force into my head. Within seconds, my vision went black. Once again, I was unsure of what Damien was doing, but soon shapes, textures slowly began to appear around me. Ooh! I found myself sitting on a stone floor in the middle of what looked like a fantasy throne room. Where am I? I looked down at myself to stand only to see my body as translucent as a ghost. Holy! I jumped up and inspected my hands in sudden panic. I was see-through.
How dare they try to negotiate with me? Do they not know whom they speak to?
I grasped a hand. I grasped it. What am I reading? I'm obviously reading something different from what's on the screen. I gasped and ran behind a nearby pillar away from the voice. The sound of his anger and the words frightened every bone in my body, turning me into a frightened child.
My lord, please calm yourself.
My lord!
Calm? They're merely testing my resolve. I have more than half of a mind to send my greatest armies to take what should be mine. They are mere insects in the way of my kingdom's expansion.
They merely asked for a marriage joining.
They merely asked.
So I'm to bow to them and share my land that I have so rightfully conquered?
It's a little goat man. It's a little goat pig thing. I peeked from behind a pillar to see a large demon covered in royal clothes, but buff enough to be a military commander. His rage practically emanated from his body as he growled at his servant.
They are willing to give their land to you, sire. All they ask is for one of your sons to marry their daughter, whom I might add is as beautiful as can be.
God, somebody kill you. You're just one of those people that nobody cares about.
This is ridiculous! To suggest that I need their approval to take their land is beyond insanity. What makes them think I care about their precious daughter?
That's Sam's voice actor.
Did I mention that she is a prodigy of her kind, sire?
A prodigy?
Yes, my lord. This succubus is a master of her skills in magic and mind manipulation. She is said to sway armies with a snap of her fingers, despite being as young as she is.
Impossible!
If only it were, sire. This succubus is dangerous, but would be a great asset to have should we agree to this arrangement. The only reason she cannot phase you, my lord, is because you are the strongest demon in the plains.
Is this supposed to change my mind?
Oh.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord.
You are doing a terrible job at convincing me.
That's so Sam's
My
voice actor.
apologies, sire.
I was lost. I could tell they were talking about Diana, but why?
Father.
Who was that? I quickly turned my head to see another demon who looked like a mere child staring at the demon commander on the throne. Father.
Ray Stroud.
Ah!
You finished your training.
Hold on, move my keyboard because and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, Father.
Then what do you want?
I want to be with my brothers the best of the day, Father.
The commander walked to the young demon and gripped his hair, picking him up off the ground. Dad of the year! Forcing him to look up at his snarl. The young demon, however, looked unfazed.
Arrogance. Why should I allow you to be with them? I should kill you for your lack of respect to me.
Ugh.
Because I want to be with them, Father.
I could only stare at the young demon as the young demon faced his father despite the massive difference between them. The young demon seemed weaker and easy to kill versus the demon commander. Why would this man kill his son, though? Was the commander that ruthless? However, I wasn't expecting him to laugh and release the young demon.
Good! Assertive even in the face of danger. That is why you are my favorite son.
What? I only stare wide-eyed at the commander place his hand on the demon's shoulder.
Very well. Go. Tomorrow, you will show me your training.
Little demon grinned wildly before running off.
I have a thought.
Show me your... show me. Tell me your thought.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord.
How old is this daughter?
As old as your 5th, sire.
So, Matthew.
Do you believe this proposal is worth it?
Yes, sire.
You're a pig man. What do you know?
Tell those insects that they are safe for now. I will consider their offer.
Sire, are you certain?
Did I stutter? Now go!
The demon servant quickly ran off, but as soon as he passed the pillar I was hiding behind, he, along with the commander, vanished into thin air. What had happened? I didn't get the time to try to figure that out before a demon who looked around my age walked into a room reading a book. Is that...
Stroud, your nose is stuck in those books. Will you not lift your head up from them once in a while?
That voice. I circled around the pillar to see a second demon, leaning against another pillar and smirking at that name I can't
Aren't you
pronounce.
supposed to be with your mother practicing the harpsichord?
I am, but I had a feeling that you were in danger.
In danger? What are you...
Attack!
Jesus. All of a sudden, 3 shadows zipped through the normal and slammed into I can't pronounce that name, forcing him to fall to the ground and drop his book. I'm just gonna say James, because we all know. As the sight cleared for me, there were 3 other demons on the dog pile with James at the bottom.
Get up! No way! You haven't had a break in months from those stupid bugs. It's time for punishment!
Is that Sam?
Death by brotherhood!
Is that Matthew?
No more reading!
Okay, maybe that's Matthew.
I told you that you were in danger.
I suddenly knew who these demons were. It's the boys. Even if the demon world, their brotherly connection was astounding. They were merely younger versions of themselves. One of the demons, who I assumed was Matthew, grabbed the book from the floor and opened it, reading it mockingly.
How can you read this, Raystro? It's all about war strategy. It's boring.
I have to, Zakaru. Get up! There's only one thing you need to know about strategy. Kill them all. Take no prisoners.
Okay.
You sound just like father.
Eric. I couldn't help but giggle. It was so cute to see them acting childish with each other. Eventually, James managed to push his brothers off him and stand brushing himself off.
You all are reckless. At least we have fun.
It's true. You haven't been with us in weeks. Don't you think it's time for a break?
Oops, wrong button.
I'm sure Father won't mind.
Aww.
But I have to... I know you want to, Raestrow.
Damien.
Damn it.
What is going on here?
Uh-oh. I shot my head to the voice to see the commander, aged a little, staring at the boys with his arms across his chest. Damien quickly dashed and hid behind Sam, peeking over his shoulder to see a large commander.
Nothing is going on. We just passed by each other.
Oops.
Then why does your brother have your book?
Just reading.
I was showing him what I was learning, Father.
Return to your studies, Raestrow. The rest of you out of my sight.
Raestrow!
Do not disturb your brother again.
Raestrow. I can only stare at James gently, as James gently took his book and without looking at his brothers. Oops, that's making my voice echo. Returned to his reading. The commander walked past the remaining brothers, growling at Sam and Damien before leaving the room. What was up with that?
Don't worry about it. We'll find a way to get him back.
I don't know. He's on a very tight leash.
Ezra, you're quiet. What did you hear?
He's going to a negotiation meeting. He's going to arrange a marriage.
No!
A marriage? For who?
Sam, calm down.
It must be for one of us.
He hasn't decided who will marry her. It's a girl from a kingdom he wants to take over.
But that's uncharacteristic of him. Usually he'd just attack with the army.
Whatever the case is, one of us is getting married.
I hope it isn't me.
What about Raestrow? He's the eldest.
It would make sense, but having a succubus marrying one of us means that she'll be practically married to all of us.
Ew.
Well, what should we do?
Before the conversation continued, the boys vanished into thin air, fading into different colored mist. They were replaced by an older Damien and Matthew, sitting with each other in the middle of the throne room.
Do you think we should?
I can't look at him.